Hello everyone, my name is GreatMate Nate, and at this video's rate, I'm back. Hello everyone, yep, it's me. It's been quite the minute. I have a YouTube channel and you guys are subscribed to it, so I can't leave you waiting forever. But I've been caught up in my own busy life. Either way, you could be here just for the ship, so let's go ahead and get started with the video. This fine vessel in front of you is one of my most prized possessions in the game. Its name is the Hopbox, and it's honestly my favorite ship. I came up with this design, in fact, well before I was in closed alpha. In fact, I think it's one of the first few designs I came up with. If you didn't know, back in late 2019 when Frozen Byte opened up Starbase to the public, I joined the Discord and I used a basic modeling program called Tinkercad to block out some of the ideas I had for ships, and this is one of the very first few that I made. I loved it so much, in fact, that I had it 3D printed, I sanded it, and I painted it myself. Perhaps I'll throw a photo of that on the screen now. But it's actually here. Now, if you are active on the Discord, you'll know that this was actually completed about a month ago, and just now am I making a video on it. And it's still not in the ship store at the moment either, so if you do have the game currently, you can't buy this at the moment, though they are working on that. Problem is, OKI has actually too many ships. We're going to need a third store to keep up with our own. Alright, let's start with an exterior tour of the ship. So I lovingly call this thing the Flying Lemon. I think someone else came up with that name. I forget who it was that started calling it the Lemon. But I decided to go with a yellow and white color scheme, basically to keep it with light industry. Heavy industry, you think darker yellows, as well as orange, black, and gray. Lighter industry, you keep with lighter yellows, white, and light gray. So that's what I did with this ship here. What is it? Well, it's actually a cargo carrying ship. If you have a keen eye, you'll see that these are sliders here. And in fact, they're on the top as well. Buttons will work on the bottom here. You got some arrows hinting towards the indication of what these will do as well. We've got some fake antennas on the outskirts here. These are always super fun to do. They just make it look more real in the terms of what humans would build here in space. They're probably not the most interesting aspect. Then we've got a real antenna on the top here. You've got your receiver for because this ship is equipped with ISAN mono what version was it? I think it was 1.1. You've got a single resource bridge here. Now, even though there's one of them inside the ship, you can control the flow direction of the resource valve. So using that button inside the ship, you can choose whether you want to refuel your ship using this port or refuel someone else's ship using it. So I made sure to think of that. You've got your maneuver thrusters all over here, and then you've got a tiny door here. If we open that up, it's a hidden panel with some buttons here. Now, so due to this being a cargo ship, sometimes you might need to maneuver just a tiny bit to squeeze said cargo into the base here, as they're not extremely big. They're about 2 endos each. So that's what this panel is. Instead of having levers and you needing to sit in here, you can just go into third person, click on them, and be able to also... That's not right. Okay, like I was saying, you can stand here, use this panel, and at the same time look into the cargo bays and make sure that everything is fitting properly. One major aspect of the ship's hull, you can see it is 100% manually bolted. Each one of these bolts was placed with precision and care. Due to it being an industrious themed ship, they're all in very neat, tidy lines like you would see from an assembly line. 4 box thrusters powers the ship, making it not very fast, but it's meant to look good and carry cargo while doing it. You're not going to win any races with it. Across the ship you also find a little bit of texture using these decorative plates here. It makes it look a little bit less blocky, because that's the inherent nature of Starbase and a lot of other building games. So the other side is basically identical, and then on both sides you have a set of 3 radiators, which is overkill for the single generator unit, but hopefully it will survive some of the patches that nerf radiators in the future. Now, since this is a cargo ship, I didn't want to leave it completely unprotected, so it has a single laser cannon here, which honestly isn't going to do that much. If you really dislike it that much, you can take it off and put some more triangles to completely seal the ship. On the adjacent side, we have a manual hatch here where you can manually access both of the small propellant tanks and swap those out. I made sure that they can be easily removed by just those 4 bolts, so you don't have to worry about recabling or anything of the sort. It makes for there you go, makes for changing them out very, very easy. But of course you have that resource bridge, so hopefully you won't have to do it manually anytime soon. Up front at the cockpit here, one of the most striking aspects is the window design. Now, the current status of windows is that they are super transparent. This looks a little bit less so because I painted them white, giving them a slight hue, but completely unpainted windows are stupidly transparent. So to give the ship more striking visual aspect, because that's what I created in my original model, I decided to use these railings here, and I made them out of strong material. They connect at the bottom here, wrap up, connect again, and then go back down, and they are very strong. There's not really that big of a chance of them breaking, as well as it makes for some cool design aspects. As you can see, I put some of the indication panels there as well as a lever. With that, we're done with the exterior tour, and let's head inside. Inside the ship, the first thing you'll probably notice is this big slot here. This ship uses a lot of YOLO, and I mean a lot. I believe, yeah, every single space is taken up by something here. Some scripts are more placeholders than others, but especially like this here, this is just the manual for the ship. I'm not going to read this to you. You can pause and read it yourself if you want to know, but it's for those buying the ship for the first time. Some of the scripts include, down here you have your ISAN Mono 1.1. Up at the top you have the OKI in-house HUDos version 1.1, I believe. I'm the creator of that myself. In between you have extra scripts that control things like some of the system, like the flow for the resource bridge, and other small niche tasks that just take up an entire chip because they need to be running constantly. One of my trademark design cues is my noodle wires, as many people on Discord will know them. You can see one on the floor here. Again, it gives the ship a little bit more personality, and I guess does make the wires a little bit more vulnerable at the same time. You can also see them over here connecting the terminal as well as the flight chair. Continuing on from the entrance, we have a little step up here and then a staircase to the flight deck where you can hop into your seat. Over here we have the fuel and propellant indicators. Down here we have your levers for flying, your eco mode toggle, HUDos, which I'll explain that in a second, ISAN, button to fire your weapon, your ammo, and battery power. Now this right here is the terminal for the Hopbox. If you're a owner of the Kreeft 2, then you'll be familiar with this, as I believe they're identical. So at the top here we have the name of the ship. LCOT 202 stands for light cargo and ore transport, and then the model 200 is for my cargo ships, and this is number 2, as number 1 I believe is the Consultor, which is currently in the ship shop. And then here's me and my friend Jake. He helped me bolt some of the ships, so his name is here as well. That was a big help, as you know how much a pain bolting is in this game currently. Now HUDos, basically what HUDos is Starbase. Currently a lot of the readings are very informationally aware. I took a little bit of computer programming, so I believe the correct term is heavy and light code. Heavy code basically is super easy for a human to read, but it's hard for a computer to process and run. Light code is easy for the computer to understand, but the human has to act as an interpreter. What HUDos does is it takes some of the information going on in the ship and makes it super easy for the pilot, veteran or amateur, to understand. So as we can see right now, the generator is currently off because you don't want to be wasting fuel when you're just parking your ship somewhere. So this red lever here, we switch that. It tells us welcome aboard. It loads up our systems, and then it gives us a readout of what is currently going on in the ship. So our generator, instead of just having a progress bar, gotta have some fancy additions to this ship. It's a premium cargo ship, alright? It's got good features. So it tells us what our generator is currently doing, and then on the bottom here it scrolls through a couple of information nodes that are very helpful to know. So it tells us our transponder, because if you get into combat, you usually want your transponder to be off, so it's harder for the enemy to find you if you manage to run away. It tells us our flow pump. That's just my fancy word for the direction in which the resource bridge is going. So when the flow button here is pressed, the resource bridge is sucking resources in. When the flow button is not pressed, then the resource bridge will, I don't really have the vocabulary for that. It will put resources into another ship if you're trying to refuel them. You have a button for your transponder, of course. And one of the scripts in the rack over there is if it detects you shooting your weapon, it will automatically disable eco mode and disable your beacon. So that means you don't have to worry about running out of battery power, and you don't have to worry about your transponder being on. Continuing our tour over here, there is a tiny hatch over here. If we turn our mag boots off, this actually gives us access to the ammo clip for the single laser cannon. So if you get your bolt tool out, that's not right, yeah, there it is. You can easily swap this out with a brand new one if you need to reload it. Over here is the controls for your cargo locks over here, and I guess that's where we should continue the tour. So you can walk in here. You can see it gives you these walls are bastion, armored bastion, so hopefully it'll protect whatever cargo you have in here. There's a tiny door here to the other chamber, which is completely sealed. And you notice back here is where you can access your tool to fuel rods. The generator is behind them. So that does mean, unfortunately, if you need to replace the fuel rods manually or access them in any way, you do need to have both of your cargo lock frames turned off, and you need to be able to walk back here. That is one downside with this ship, but it's so compact that if you looked at the frame, you'd see why I had to really jump some hoops to get this in the current state it is. There's also a lever back here, or a twist handle, that I'll demonstrate right now. So one of the problems that I thought of is what if you accidentally start flying without turning on your power? Now of course you have HUDos telling you that it's off, but not everyone has the time to check that if they're trying to get away or just in a hurry. So I'm going to go ahead and drain the batteries here until my ship can no longer fly, and I'll meet back with you. So basically what you want to do is, if you're in the pilot seat, you want to make sure your thrust is all the way off. that eco mode is off. It doesn't have to be, but it helps with the generator startup. You hop out of your ship. Now, you would assume that you could just flip the switch here, but how YOLO works is it needs power to run the script. You have no power to start the power script. So what you have to do is make sure that it is flipped on. As you can see, nothing's happening. And then you have to go to the back of ship here and flip this switch. Yeah, so you hold that down, and then the ship will boost back to life. Basically, that is a direct connection to the generator unit, which automatically turns it to 100. That gives the ship a little bit of juice, and then the script starts running and everything comes back online. So basically, I call that the jump start, and most of my ships, if not all, have that. So if you ever find yourself completely out of power, you don't have to clamor to the engine compartment and have to worry about that. But the cargo lock frames, well, you obviously can't fit very much cargo through the doorway here. So, of course, if you press one of these buttons over here, the doors on the bottom and the top slide open like butter. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my presentation of the first generation Hopbox LCOT 202. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're glad I'm back, and I thank you for sticking with me so long, even through these periods of content drought. If you have the game, it will hopefully be available in a OKI shop near you in the distant future. If you don't have the game, stick with us. It's coming soon. Trademark. Anyway, thank you for watching, and of course, make sure to tune in next time.